Okay, here's where I'm gonna go my atheist rant though. And both you guys are religious, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. This is my okay.
I feel like we haven't been bringing up religion that much.
No,
I thought
that's why I said I'm about to.
okay. I
This
thought
is-
we were like being too Christian for people. I thought like, oh, look at us moderates.
Okay, don't worry. We'll bring the atheism in here. This is why Christianity sucks, and it's why all the Christian talking points suck. The world today as it exists is different than it ever has been. We have to find a way to offer people some avenue for fulfillment that doesn't require us resetting the clock 30, 40, 50, 100 years on civilization. This is why I'll always fight with Christians or red pills or whatever, people that are like, we need to get rid of the pill or birth control. That's never happening. Women need to go back to the home and need to stop working so much. That's never happening. These are two of probably the most massive things that have changed society. And these are two of the things that I hear people complain about the most, that women are being too masculinized, that women can sleep around now and they don't have to get married, blah, blah, blah. These are two things that are never changing. Whatever solution we're offering men or people in general in the world going forward, I don't think it can be like a return to tradition where we go back to the way things were 100 years ago, because that's never
How does that
happen.
relate to Christianity and atheism though?
Because when I hear people, because I think that the world today has become a bit more secular in terms of how we look for happiness and fulfillment. And I think that Christians like to fall back a lot on like, well, the Bible has all the answers you need. All of your metaphysical, all of your ethical, all of your epistemic truths can be found in the Bible. We just have to go back to church. We have to do that. And I feel like overall, like the traditional lifestyle, I think for a long time, people assumed that traditional lifestyle, we're just biologically inclined towards it. Women want to have kids. Men want to be fathers. And it's like, well, put in a society with birth control and jobs, people actually are making way different choices than we ever thought they would before. So it seems like that biological drive is not as strong as it was. The religion aspect is probably not coming back. So I think we have to have better answers for going forward in the future, other than just like we need to be tradcon or we need to, bring God back into the world or whatever. It has to be different. Like even to what you said, like, oh, like it's hard to afford things today. You could have like a boathouse or a boat and a house on the waterfront and blah, blah, blah with a single income. Yeah, but the world was a lot different back then too. You didn't have the huge cities we have today. You didn't have all the opportunities that exist in those cities. You didn't have cell phones or the internet. You didn't have video games. Like they had access to like property, but like what they could do with those properties and the opportunity and everything available to them was also way, 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 way less.
I think the biological drives remain. They just may be channeled in different ways. Like men aren't exactly like going to war the way we used to, but we spend a lot of time watching other men fight or compete in, grand athletic displays or things like that. Or even women, for example, yeah, they're not having children maybe as much as they used to, but even you see in the trends on social media, like, the feminine urge to do this. I mean, there's a reason those things go viral. It does resonate to some degree with women, even if it's not possible. And I also think it's true that women are far more susceptible to like social pressures.
Yes.
And if every institution and person in the media is telling them like, this is lame, you need to go be like, what's her face? They're going to be like, oh, okay. Like they think it's a low status opinion to want to pursue motherhood, and they're actually shamed for that more so than they would have been when they were being taught to do that.
You brought up the question of Christianity and religion, and I will still push back and say a lot of the points you've made don't necessarily relate to religion, but I think they're part of the fact that the Christian tradition, it is very focused on your inner life and what some people might broadly call spirituality. Now that term is very frou-frou and can mean whatever, but it's the idea that we are more than just our material senses and that life has greater meaning than simply just input, output, pleasure. And I think that's not necessarily something that's just about Christianity. We are talking about a world that is a lot more material. And I think when you say it's more secular now, you're actually talking about how we are so much more focused on the material, whether that's consumerism, like our obsession with social media and things like that. And I think we can actually track a pretty direct line for our happiness. As we have focused more on the material, we have become more depressed as a society, and particularly women, because when we go to, it's interesting, when you go to a lot of these countries that we would call developing, like they don't have all the luxuries that we do. By and large, they have a lot fewer, like I guess, social problems. They might consider themselves a lot happier than we are now.
That's kind of true, but if you look at like you guys like teleology, right? Because you guys are like Christians. If you look at like the grand design and purpose of humanity, right? It does seem like, and I know a lot of people like to do this weird thing where we jerk off like, whoa, my God, the really underdeveloped societies that don't have cell phones, they're all so much happier. And it's like, to some extent that's true, but like Tim Pool's show doesn't exist in these societies, right? The ability for us
people.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't
I said those
exist.
poor people.
Yeah, true. Yeah, actually. But like, I'm just saying that like, there's a lot of really cool shit that we've created in kind of the more developed world. It does seem like people tend towards wanting more autonomy, the ability to choose otherwise, the ability not to be railroaded into hyper-specific lifestyles. Now, humans acclimate really well, believe it or not, even people with locked-in syndrome where you can't move anything but your fucking eyes, even those people tend to report decent standards of living. So I'm sure you can find really poor communities where the people are, like, oh, we're happy, we do our thing. But with the ability to pursue and accomplish grander things. I think we kind of owe it to ourselves as humans, as being part of like the human race, to continue to build towards those things. We just have to
I'm not against that. I'm not saying that all of the modern luxuries that we have are necessarily bad. I like clean water. I'm good keeping that. But I'm just the reason why
clean water, though.
the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of the things that we've developed now that people are so obsessed with, I just want to put into perspective that that's not going to make you happier, right? The person who has like a happy family life, a happy home life, who lives in a mud hut, they're ultimately going to report more fulfillment and more happiness than you, who is spending all of your time indulging in like social media, in this video game, and in whatever it is. Not that those things are inherently bad, though, but they are not a source of fulfillment.
Yeah, I agree.
I think social media probably makes people unhappier, right?
Yeah. Almost, absolutely, especially teenage girls.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting
Especially,
about that?
Instagram.
Like, yes, people will always choose things that are more interesting. They'll choose more autonomy. If you ask, probably, 100 people who live in these lesser developed societies, if they want to just get a free ticket to the U.S., most of them will probably say yes. I don't think people can choose reliably what is good for them just based on their desires. Because think about with social
But
media.
you're choosing what's good for them, right?
But I don't agree with that.
Well, just as a general idea, I think we all know that social media has like harmed us. I mean, you hear this all the time online with kids. Like, I wish we could just do away with it, go back to 2006. Most people would probably agree with that. But when it comes to actually doing it, nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to come together and like, okay, let's all go back. Like you said, it's impossible. We're never going to go back.
I agree. Yeah, in terms of people in lesser developed nations being offered a ticket here, a lot of them would say yes. I think most of them would say no.
Hopefully.
But it's not because of. I think the issue is, for most people, their happiness and fulfillment is their family and their community. And
What if you offer their whole family a ticket here?
I think still many of them would say no. So we've talked about blue zones, for instance. Are you guys familiar with the blue zones, where people live to be over 100 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They interviewed this Japanese guy, and he's like chopping lumber, and he's like 99 or something. And they were like, "Why are you chopping wood? Like, have someone else do it." And he's like, "What do you mean? If I don't do it, who's going to do it? I have to do it." And they contribute. One of the reasons people live long lives is because of purpose. Because they have to. They can't stop. People need something of them. For that reason, I think there are certainly a lot of people who are like, "Man, I dream of coming to the United States," and they do come every single day. Some more successfully than others. But I think most people would probably just say, like, "If I leave, who's going to feed the pigs?" And they find fulfillment in their family and their community and their personal mission, which is, maybe it's today we're making pork, maybe making shoes. Who knows?
Yeah.
And to bring things back to, I guess, men, and because we opened up with what's wrong with men, I think men especially, they thrive and need that purpose, the feeling that they are contributing to something greater. It's like you mentioned, John, that I'm not attributing it to PTSD, because I would say that's a different thing too. But a lot of people, service members who have seen come back to civilian life, they will say, "Oh, this is really hard to adjust to, because you're in this really tight brotherhood. You have a very clearly defined mission that you're working to." Men do thrive, or a lot of men thrive in that environment. Modern society doesn't really look like that. Even the way that our careers are looking like, it's no longer the case where you just go to this one company and it's a very clearly defined hierarchy. It's very measurable, your goals, you work hard, you succeed. Now everything is everywhere. You're getting laid off. A lot of people they have their own jobs or side hustles. So it's hard for, I think, a lot of young men to navigate that. They want to be out there slaying dragons. The dragons are still there, but they're a lot more amorphous, and they don't have guidance as to what that looks like in this context.